Hey everyone, welcome to a new video. So today's just going to be kind of a quick one. We have a little bit of an update on what some AP item changes are going to look like. This will probably come in next patch, so it won't be like this patch, which is kind of like 2 days away. It'll be the one after that, so we're probably looking at like a couple of weeks at least, and changing Rod of Ages, Mosi, and also Liandry's as well. So this will change quite a bit if you play any AP supports or AP mages. We're going to briefly go over all of the stuff and what to expect. First up today, we're going to look at the catalyst, which builds into Rod of Ages and also into Abyssal Mask. It's still going to do the same thing pretty much. It's just going to be cheaper, less health, less mana as well. So you get a bit earlier into the lane phase, should be a bit more helpful. It's kind of a lane phase thing anyway to kind of help you trade, get your health and mana up. So it's going to be purely around damage taken now and damage dealt. So receiving mana equal to 5% of the damage taken and health equal to 5% of the damage dealt. So if you deal 1,000 damage, if you're trying to kill somebody, you'll get 50 health back, which is actually pretty good, honestly. Same goes if someone's trying to kill you, you'll get some mana back as well, which might be enough. In general, probably, if you're going to die, it'll be enough for like 1 mana cast. So if you're kind of like greedy a little bit, no mana, but you have this item and somebody goes on you, you'll probably have enough for like a dash or an escape maybe. And that way it's kind of good at least, but basically it's easier to get in the lane phase now. Does similar things, it just works in a slightly different way. That catalyst plus Haunting Guys we're going to look at now is going to build into Rod of Ages now as the new component pass. And this one, the Haunting Guys, is going to build into Liandry's as well still, like it does at the moment. So it's going to give you a bit less health, 50 less health, 5 less AP as well. And the unique madness thing on the old one, that is going to be completely reworked. It used to obviously have the 2% increased damage up to 10%, so that was for everything. And now it's just going to give you some AP basically. So 3 AP per mana stack. Now you get a mana stack every second in combat, up to 10 stacks, and then last 6 seconds, which is actually a pretty long time in a fight really, and then it renews with continued combat as well. So you get this thing stacked up, it will be there the entire time. This is going to give you an extra potential 30 after the 10 stacks, and then that's going to be added to the original 30, which is going to give you 60 AP. It actually does cost less as well. It's only going to be 1,300 instead of 1,500, which is pretty nice. And obviously for some champions you are losing the damage amp, which kind of sucks because it would have worked with everything, but it's still giving you an absolute ton of AP. And it builds into Rod of Ages, which has had a major overhaul, and this is going to be the kind of game changer for a lot of AP mages. So Rod of Ages is the big update part about this, I guess, like the focus of it, if that makes sense. And the first thing is that it does stack with Liandry's, the madness side of things. It stacks with Liandry's and also Haunting Guys as well. So you can, in theory, have all 3 of them working together, and it could be ramping up at the same time and giving you an absolute ton of AP with the madness, which will be really good. I don't think you can have 2 Rod of Ages, 2 guys, and 2 Liandry's. I don't think that would make sense. So I'm pretty sure it's just 1 of each, but still they stack, which is really good. And with the Rod of Ages, everything is doubled on this item now because of the new passive. It increases Rod of Ages effects by 10% per minute for 10 minutes. Instead of just giving you a bit of stats every single minute, it's going to increase the percentage, which is going to double everything, including the madness. So fully stacked, it used to be 500 health, it used to be 400 mana and 100 AP, right? Now it's going to be 600 health, 500 mana, and 80 AP base. So that's going to be a little bit low, right? But with the madness, if that's full, after the 10 seconds, it's going to give you 140 mana, or it's giving you 140 mana, 140 AP instead of the 100 AP that was giving you before. So it's actually a lot more. It just takes like maybe 2 or 3 seconds to ramp up to the current level, and then anything past that is going to be a buff for the AP side of things. Only other difference as well is that the Catalyst passive, so the Eternity part of this as well, is going to be different from live servers, because that's the passive that we've all talked about with the Catalyst, and that's just carrying over onto Rod of Ages. But one thing actually that I kind of want to mention is that with Death Cap, this thing is pretty much insane. So right now it gives you 140 AP with a Death Cap with Rod of Ages on live servers, right? With the Madness side of things as well, that is going to give you 196. So it almost gives you 60 more AP, 200 AP or 140 AP. It's pretty insane. So Rod of Ages actually scales really well into the game. It is kind of bad burst though, because it is less AP before the madness starts kicking in. So if you're like a LeBlanc and you're going to go nuts at the very start of fight, blow everything, blow your low completely, and then you've got no cooldowns or anything, you can't do any more damage, it's not going to be that good. But if you do sustain damage over a fight, it's actually going to be pretty insane, especially once you get later into your build as well. One cool thing though is we mentioned that it stacks, so you can get a guys as well on top of this. It would actually give you 200 AP, and that would give you for 4,000 gold. So 200 AP, 4,000 gold, is actually pretty insane because the madness is going to stack together. And if you're ramping it on one item, you might as well, you're going to have some synergy anyway, or you wouldn't buy it really. So you might as well ramp it with another. I think like pairing Rod of Ages and Liandry's is going to be really good idea. So we're going to move on to that next. So Liandry's is a bit easier because it's the same stats. The only real difference and the nerf from this is that the burn was 4.5% up to 7.5% against slowed and impaired targets. Now it's going to be 1.5% and 2.5%. So it's basically a third as good as it was before. If you're against a lower health target like an AD carry, that doesn't matter at all. If you're against a tank though, definitely going to feel that because 7.5% is a lot of damage, especially if you're applying it with damage over time like a Malzahar or a Zyra or anything like that. That's going to really suck. But you do actually gain 50 AP with the madness as well. So it's the same AP at the moment, just 50 extra after it's been stacking up for the 10 seconds, right? So you're going to have 125 AP on this item now, which is actually pretty insane. Morello, by the way, is 3,000 gold. So this is 3,100, same price as it was before. But Morello is going to be 3,000 gold. It's going to give you the 70 AP, which is actually slightly less. It's going to give you 300 health, so that's the same. Obviously, that gives you the magic pen. It also gives you the grievous wounds. If you don't need that, this is just giving you way more AP, right? It gives you 65 more AP. So do you want 15 magic pen, or do you want 65 more AP and passive burn on top of it as well? Like for me, at least, I kind of think unless you really want to blow everything at the very start, like a LeBlanc or maybe like a Syndra or something, like otherwise, surely you're going to want to go for this, which is basically the same price and just way more AP and way more damage, just not as much magic pen. So maybe stick a void stuff on later or something like that, and it'd actually be pretty good. So we might actually see Morello being bought less, especially on a lot of these mages. One thing to point out as well, by the way, before we move on to Abyssal Mask, which is the last one, is this and Rod of Ages together as a pair gives 265 AP when you have the madness fully stacked, and with a death cap that is 371 AP from 2 items. So it's actually pretty insane. These 2 items together are going to have really good synergy. They're going to do a ton of damage. And that is 370 AP without taking into effect like the percentage burn or anything like that. And any of the other stats, the health, the mana, nothing like that. Just a ton of AP together. Okay, so last up we have Abyssal Mask. This is the smallest one out of everything because it's basically the same. They've just taken off the CDR and changed the passive because it now has a catalyst. It also now builds out Spectre's Cowl, which makes it a little bit easier, but this one isn't done. So that's why I left it till the end. Don't take this and don't flame it because it isn't finished yet. They've taken off the cooldown reduction. They've left the price basically the same. The passive is a little bit different, but that's it. Like they're still going to take 15% more magic damage. You're still going to get your health, your mana, your magic resist on the item anyway. What they were talking about is possibly replacing the CDR with the Spectre's Cowl passive. So that's going to be after taking damage from an enemy champion, you gain 150% of your base health regeneration for 10 seconds. So it's sort of like a mini Doran Shield, I guess. And adding that on to the Abyssal Mask as well as a passive on top of everything else. So kind of having that carry on. I don't know if they're going to do that or not, but this is the first like iteration. He mainly spent most of his time on Rod of Ages, I think, and then this kind of threw in at the end. They're removing the CDR, but they're going to replace it with something, and we just don't know what that something is right now. So before we end the video, there's actually some other stuff on there as well that we can kind of take a look at. So there are 2 things in particular that are really cool. Like Pyke is getting a pretty big change, I guess, to his passive and like the regeneration part of things. And then also Illaoi is getting a lot of tweaks. First up, if we look at Pike, so the passive, the whole health regeneration thing, like he'll regenerate 30 to 80% of damage he's recently taken from champions. That is getting removed off his passive and going onto his W. It's going to be a little bit different though because it's going to go from 30 to 70% of damage, and it's going to be based on spell ranks now and not on levels like it was before. The move speed on that has kind of been buffed or changed. It's actually a little bit worse rank 1, but it gets better as you put more skill points into it, kind of to, I guess, nudge you into actually ranking that thing up. And also the Q, their cooldown on that is going to be a bit lower rank 1 and then go back to the same. So again, that is kind of a buff as well to offset the passive. Even though it might not seem like it, this is really going to kill off a mid lane and top lane Pike, probably because the healing is just not as good anymore, and it's now controlled by spell ranks, as we said, and not by levels. Normally, you would max it last as well, so it will stay at around 30% of damage instead of getting up to something like 80% or probably like 60% in the mid game. You're still going to be stuck at half of that. It's so much worse for lane Pike more than support. Like, it still is going to be a hit to support, don't get me wrong, but the buffs kind of offset that a bit more for support and not so much for the lane phase. Like, he's going to be easier to bully as well with this, less sustain, and just even, you have no great health now until you even put a point into your W. Like level 1 or level 2, even if you don't have a point in your W and you go for the combat stuff instead, you're not going to be able to regenerate anything, and so it'll be a lot easier to bully at like that point of the game. If you're going to be fishing for hooks as Pike, which is kind of the main thing that I guess support Pike does, really, like throw his Q out most of the time, then that is going to be actually better because of the cooldown change, but it's going to be worse for taking trades and trying to heal back up afterwards. Illaoi is also getting quite a few tweaks with this new patch as well coming through. Now, obviously, these aren't like 100%, but this is what they're kind of planning to do. And we'll see more about it, I guess, in about a week's time when I do a PB video. First up, we have the passive tentacle damage. So that's going to be changed a little bit. Actually, that is adding an AP ratio. I'm not really too sure why, because you don't play AP Illaoi, but maybe you can if you want to. Now, they're actually removing a part on this, though, where tentacles will no longer go into an idle state when Illaoi is not around to command them. They'll still be destroyed 60 seconds afterwards if she's not near them, but they don't go into an idle. They're still going to be smacking everybody about. You won't know if she's based, and they still do damage even when you're not around. And also, there's a new part on this where tentacles now store up to 2 charges. The cooldown is going to change, obviously, with that because of the charge system and go based on the timer now instead. And the range as well for which enemies get vision of the tentacles, that is going to be down to 1,000 from 1,400. So basically, the people won't really be able to see the tentacles until they're a little bit closer. One of the reasons I actually wanted to take a first look at this anyway is because her W is now going to work on turrets, which is pretty big. So right now it has, it works on percentage-based damage, which doesn't really make sense for a tower. It would be pretty insane if it did. But it has a minimum damage now, so that's how they're going to make that work. But this is her leap and a jump in, so you can actually jump to a tower and deal some damage and push a little bit better. And also her test of spirit, so this her E, they've removed the thing where it's reduced by a second each time a target damages Illaoi. Most people didn't even realize that was there, but just compensate, now the duration of spirit is going to be a bit lower and the range is going to be a bit higher. And then finally, if we go on to our ultimate, the maximum amount of summons now is going to be 6 instead of 5, so in theory it's going to be hitting a wider area and doing a bit more damage. I actually think these are really good buffs. I don't know about you guys, but I don't see Illaoi a ton. When I do, if she gets ahead in lane phase, she's an absolute nightmare to play against. And this, in theory, should make that even better. And when she does get a lead, she'll be getting a bit more from it. So that's going to wrap up the video for today. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know if you kind of like these first look videos or not, because I'm trying to do some more where we can have a little bit of an advanced look, I guess. And then in addition to the PB videos as well. But I think the Rod of Ages update is really cool. I think it opens up a lot more builds, a lot more champions, which is really nice. And then Illaoi is definitely going to come back next patch with these changes. I think they're actually going to be really good. Should be streaming right now if you want to come and watch. But thank you for watching the video until the very end. And for now, I will leave you with the robots.